Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Let's Talk to Tings, where we discuss personal growth, music, travel, design, and film while encouraging you to live fearlessly and fabulously. I'm your host, Ash, and this week we are talking to Tings with the incredibly talented Trinidadian fashion designer and entrepreneur, Chandra Maharaj.
Your voice is so beautiful.
Thank you so much. And I want to make sure I did pronounce your name correctly, right?
Yeah, it's Chandra Maharaj, but many people pronounce it many different ways. Whatever
Got
works
you,
is
Chandra
fine.
Maharaj. Nice. So, how are you doing today?
I'm so good. I'm out here learning things like lighting, but so good.
Right. You and I both. You and I both.
Exactly.
But no, it's so lovely to have you. And what we like to do for our first time guests and persons listening for the first time is we begin each episode with our listeners' favorite segment, and it's called Datna Sound Safe.
I love it already.
Don't worry, it's nothing crazy, I promise. Every time I say that, I feel like I have to tell people it's not crazy because it sounds like, wait a minute, what are we going to be talking about?
Disclaimer.
Right, exactly. So basically, what it is I'm going to read messages or social media posts that listeners sent in. And if you
Okay.
think it sounds crazy or a little concerning, you just say that not sound safe and explain why. And if you
Okay.
agree, you say you agree and explain why. Sounds
Okay.
good?
Sounds good.
All right, perfect. Okay, so the first person said, you come home, make some tea, sit down in your armchair, and all around there is silence. Everyone decides for themselves whether that's loneliness or freedom.
Freedom. Absolutely freedom. That's one of
Yeah,
my favorite things to do. I am a believer and I thoroughly enjoy silence. I think it's important for your mental, spiritual, emotional health. You have to take the time to listen to yourself sometimes, have that internal conversation,
for sure. Yeah.
step away from the noise. So for me, I think that's a blessing to be able to do that. A lot of people don't have that privilege of having moments of silence. But that's one of my favorite things to do. So
Yeah, I
freedom,
think that
absolute
sounds safe for
freedom.
sure.
Yeah, it's definitely safe.
Yeah, and I think you described it so beautifully. And I love the way that it kind of teeters between what's loneliness versus freedom. And
Exactly.
freedom is a word that means a lot to me for several reasons, but I just think it's such an important distinction to make, right? Like a lot of times people will see, especially as women, right? They'll see you alone or maybe spending time by yourself. Maybe you go on solo vacations and they'll say, aren't you lonely? Like, don't you want to go with your partner or your friend? And it's like, yeah, you might like that sometimes. But like you
Yep.
said, that solitude and the ability just to be able to think and maybe even if it's a trip, like do things that you like to do without having to ask if everybody else is comfortable. I think that's the ultimate freedom.
Yeah, I oftentimes refer to it as sacred solitude, and that very much equates to freedom to me.
Yeah, I love that.
It's very different from loneliness, and I think that it's important for people to start differentiating the two. It's two very different things, and
Yeah.
solitude in itself and the sacredness of solitude is extremely important for the evolution of any single person, and collectively.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, it's one of my favorite things to do. So it's safe, real
Yes,
safe.
that sounds safe. I love that. I love that. Okay, the next person said, every now and then you have to slide your credentials across the table so that they know that this is not a game.
Interesting.
Mhm.
So me particularly, I'm not a fan of that.
Mhm.
And I say it because I think that everybody needs to walk with the awareness of their worth.
Absolutely.
And if you're at a table where you are not known, then maybe that's not the right table for you. And so to feel the need to kind of slip that in there,
Yeah.
I can see how it can be beneficial, and I can see how sometimes people may need a little reminder or a little nudge, and I get that completely. I'm not completely against it.
Right,
It's just
right.
not something that I personally like to do, and I tend to believe that, hopefully you'll surround yourself with people that recognize your worth without you having to remind them of it.
I think that's beautifully said. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely,
So
definitely.
So
Yeah, yeah. I see what you're saying though. It's kind of in the middle, right? Because you made a very good point, which is if that's a table where you have to slide your credentials, you're at the
yeah,
wrong table. That's a number one,
yeah,
right? That's such an
yeah,
excellent point. But I think you're also seeing the other side of what this person might be saying is that you could be, I don't know, speaking on a panel or something like that. And maybe you're the only Trinidadian designer, Caribbean designer. And they might think, oh, she doesn't really know about this technique or whatever because she's from the
yeah,
Caribbean. And you, in your own way, it may not be boisterous, but may have to remind them, no, no, I've been doing this for years. Like, just because I'm from this place, doesn't mean I'm not qualified.
yeah. You're
Right. So
right. In
situations like
situations,
that, I get, but
yeah.
yeah.
For sure. Sometimes you need to, there are a lot of times that you need to remind people of who you are.
Yeah.
It's just not a preferred thing to do, but if you have to do it, you got to do it. You know what I mean? You
Yeah. You
didn't,
got to be
like,
prepared.
you're not out here building your business and your brand and going through trials and tribulations to overcome so many things to become successful in your entrepreneurship to then be disregarded because somebody doesn't know better, you know? So at times like that, you definitely kind of let them know who you are and
Yeah.
what you're
Yeah.
capable of. Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
But no, I'm with you. I tend to lean more towards like if I feel I have to remind you, I need to just go
Yeah.
because that not sound safe.
Mm.
Not at all. Okay. Two more. The next person said, I love asking five different people for advice and then doing whatever I want.
I love that.
I know. I
You know
read this. I'm
why?
like, wait, how do they know my life? That's Unfortunately, that's me.
So I just feel like, okay, so for me, for example, like I have always been very specific and very aware of certain things, and I'm very intuitive, and I tend to oftentimes know the answers within myself.
Right.
However, sometimes I have to remind myself that I don't know everything, you know, and there's possible perspectives, opinions, like something that I can learn from somebody else that has a different viewpoint on the situation. And so when I do ask, I ask with the awareness and the openness that maybe there's something I can learn here that's already not in my realm. Now, does that mean that? So sometimes that can influence a decision,
Mhm.
but it usually tends to kind of supplement what I already believed in the first place because I have a very small group of friends that I love and trust that has a very varied set of opinions, but tends to always be in the right direction, you know? And so I tend to just do what I want anyways, but I'm very open
Yeah.
and willing to absorb and learn
Yeah.
and take things into consideration. But I love to hear different, I'm very inquisitive. I like to ask questions.
Mhm.
Like I'm just naturally someone that asks questions, and I don't ask shallow questions either. I'm asking like questions that comes from the depth of your soul, you know.
Yeah.
That's just the way my brain works. Like I don't want any kind of surface level information, and
Mhm.
so I enjoy asking people their perspectives and opinions, you know. And so
Yeah.
when it applies to myself as well, I do that, and I love it. I love that. I love these questions. Who
Yeah.
sent in these questions? These are great questions.
No, I love how you explain that too, because I think when you first hear it, it's like, oh, that friend that never listens to your advice or whatever. But, and we've said this on several episodes before, the thing about getting advice from a friend or a family member, anybody, is you see if you take their advice blindly and it goes wrong, you're going to
Yeah,
want to blame them. You know what I mean? And you're going to
correct.
say to
Yeah,
yourself, I should have never listened, or you told me to do this, blah, blah, blah. So I think that's a good balance, right? Like, you know who you are, you know yourself, you know your values, but you don't know everything, right? So you only
correct.
know life as you know it. So there's
Yep.
no harm in going to a friend or two that you trust to get a difference of opinion. But at the end of the day, whatever decision you make, you can say, like, okay, I took into consideration my two friends' opinion, but like, this is what I want to do, you know?
Yep.
Yeah. So
Yep.
I agree. That sounds safe.
I love these. I'm really enjoying these questions. I'm ready.
Good.
I'm ready for
Okay.
the next one.
All right. So the last one, the person said, "Your friend who is not my friend should never know my business."
Agreed.
Yeah, that sounds safe.
Agreed. Yeah. I believe that trust, again, I'm gonna use the word sacred. I believe that
Yeah.
trust is sacred, and it's
Mhm.
something that takes time to build. And it's something that you have to nurture, and you have to respect, and you have to prove over and over and over again, you know? And the mere fact that there is a friendship in my life where that friend has friends that are not friends of mine already would have me like, because there's no reason that someone is not my friend for no reason, you know?
Right, right.
But obviously, I'm not here to tell who they can be friends with or not. But I would like to believe that the things that I share, my conversations and things as personal as that, would be held in confidence
Yeah.
and not shared with somebody that doesn't have my best interest at heart.
Yeah, no, definitely, definitely. A
Yeah.
saying that my mom always says is when your friends become your foe, to the world your secret will go. And she would
Wow.
remind me of that as a child. And she still says it now because
Yeah.
she always wanted to let me know, while you're making friends and you have really good friends, because I too have a very small circle of friends. Most of my friends I've had since prep school, high school, but at the end of the day, people are people, right? So whatever you tell somebody, you have to have the understanding that they may not be like you. And once you tell them, they just maybe
Yeah.
forget about it or don't tell anyone. They too may have a best friend that they trust. You know what I mean? Or that they may think, well, she doesn't really know Shan like that. So I'll just tell her this. But it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Like to your point, you would hope that if you're trusting this person, and nobody wants to be the friend that's like, can you not say anything? Please don't say anything. It's like,
Correct.
I'm so blessed. I can say that my closest friends, that thought doesn't even come to my mind because it's just like an understanding. You know what I mean? That
And
it's
especially at
something they
this
wouldn't do.
age, like I'm older. I'm 42, so I'm not sure how old you are, but
Yeah.
especially at this age where we are grown adults, like we're not in high school anymore. We're not children.
Yeah.
There should be like a moral compass that allows you to understand within yourself what's okay, what's not okay, like a code of ethics, or however you want to look at it.
Hmm.
If you are a genuine friend, not everybody has the capacity to hold the friendship in its truest form. Not everybody can do that,
That's
right?
so true.
And so they even throw the word friend around like to anybody. This is my friend and that's my friend and this is my
Yes.
best friend and that's my best friend, and like that within itself is something that I always pay a lot of attention to.
Hmm.
Anybody that does that,
Hmm.
I don't believe has the same understanding of friendship that I have,
Hmm.
because there is no way that is the case. That I mean, I'm sure there are humans that have lots of friends.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not saying no, but the way that I see friendship, the way that I use the word friend,
Hmm.
is very different and really holds, like I can count, maybe not in my two hands, a little bit more, but
Yeah.
the amount of friends that I genuinely have, friends that
Yeah.
I reach out to, whose phone calls I pick up, and who I celebrate and I am present for, who I hold space for. And because of my life and how demanding it is, I can only do that for so many people. And so I choose them very specifically, very carefully.
Yeah. You
And
have to.
the world knows who my friends are because I celebrate them loudly and I support them in every way I can.
Yeah.
So I guess I went off on a tangent,
No,
but
that's what we're here for, to talk the things. That's
yeah.
fine.
Again, sacred. The word of the day is sacred.
It's
Let's just
sacred. I
put that
love
out
that.
there, right?
Yes,
The
I
word of the
love
day
that.
is sacred, and friendships is sacred. Friendships are people that you actively choose to be a part of your life, to experience life with, to
Yeah.
learn with, to grow with. It's not like
Mhm.
family that was chosen for you or you are
Exactly.
bounded by blood. And so you have to really hold space for that in a divine sort of way, because that is a choice that you are actively making to hold space for people in your life that can potentially help you grow and evolve or do the opposite.
Yeah, no, that's so true. That's so
So it's
true.
important.
Yeah, no, I think that definitely sounds safe. I think that it's interesting when you explain, the whole everyone calling each other friend. I used to
Yeah.
be one of those people because I just didn't at the time really have the vocabulary to say, like, because who's going to say, this is my acquaintance? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
in my mind, I would just be like, oh, that's my friend so and so. I
Yeah.
met the person one time, right? But it would have been, if I'm saying that, I will give myself credit. It would have been maybe one time we hit it off. We had so much in common.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's my friend Sally, right? But I realized that I don't have to say friend. I could say, oh, that's Sally that I met
Yeah.
across the street. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because you're right. Because I hold that title so dearly, I think it makes me then interpret, if I'm saying it so many times to myself, oh, this person is my friend. And that person could be like, I mean, Ash is nice, but I don't really know her like that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I love how
Exactly.
you explained it, because I think there are people that used to be like me. I'm not like that anymore, just saying. But that used to be like
And it's
that,
okay if you are,
you
like I'm
know?
not here to judge, but it's nice to have that awareness that the meaning of words vary to people.
Yes.
So, for example, like I was having this not me going off on another tangent, but
No, it's fine. It's fine.
so Portuguese is my first language and
Okay.
English is my second language, right? And so the way that words hold meaning to me is also very different. And sometimes I have difficulty communicating things in English in a way that is fully understood because of the way that I hold on to words and the meaning of words. And so, and because words are so powerful, words are genuinely so powerful. And so I try to respect that as much as possible.
Right.
But when you live in a community or in a country or in a space where those words are thrown around without proper regard, then it just
Hmm.
kind of becomes the norm to use it in a certain type of way, right? And so in
Yes.
your case, for example, you used it for lack of knowing how else to do it because that's
Yeah.
what other people do. Everybody says, well, this is my friend, this is my friend. So it's not like you did something wrong. It's just that
Right.
that's the
Right.
way that it's done. But I choose to hold it a little differently and carry myself the best way that I know how. So then with me not throwing the word best friend around. I
Hmm.
have no best friend. I have friends that feel like best friends, but I have no best friend because I don't want to ever take away the value of one friendship and then exchange it for
Mm.
another when both friendships have two different sets of values and gifts that they bring to my life.
Oh, I
You
love
know?
that outlook. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that. No, I think that's really well explained. And I think it's an important way to look at things. You know what I mean? Because again, that's a great analogy. You holding that much weight on one person
Yeah.
as your best friend, like one person can't give you everything. And again, we're obviously leaving room for some people do have that
Yeah.
one best friend for their
Yeah.
whole life and they don't know what we're talking about and they've never had any issues with friends. So we
And it
understand
works
that.
for them. And we love and respect them. And it's great.
Right. Exactly. But the majority of people, especially women, especially in our community as Caribbean women, unfortunately, that's not always the case. So I
Yeah.
think what that person said, like, my business should not go to your friend. I think that's very safe. I think that's like
Safe, safe.
standard of how everybody should operate for sure.
Agreed.
Okay,
Agreed.
perfect. Well, that was fun. See, it was fun, right?
Yay! I love that. I love those questions. They're so good.
Yes, I'm glad. I'm
I'm
glad.
so
Okay,
used to
so
doing interviews that are not so fun. So this was fun.
exactly. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. So, you are the creative voice or creative force
Hmm.
and voice, I should say, because I
Hmm.
love your Instagram videos. They're so cute.
Thank you.
Behind an ethical, slow fashion and lifestyle brand rooted in Trinidad and Tobago. And we're going to get into your first language being Portuguese because that tells
Okay.
me you weren't born there.
No, I
But
wasn't.
we'll get into that. And your work, I think it reflects your deep curiosity about the world and like a reverence for place and a commitment to beauty that feels grounded and alive. And what I love about your story is that it doesn't really follow a straight line based on what I know. It's kind of like a winding journey informed by dual cultural roots, from what I'm picking up, and a global perspective, and really an unwavering belief in fashion as both expression and responsibility.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to get to know who you are as a person. In order to do that, I always ask my guest to go back to when they were little and really reflect on when they first realized that the field that they're in. So for you, it would be fashion. So when you
Mhm.
were little, what is your first memory of fashion or design or just knowing you wanted to do that?
So, okay. Let's go right in. I was born in Brazil.
Okay.
My mother is Brazilian. My father is Trinidadian. I was born in Rio.
Wow. I love that
Yeah.
mix. That mix so nice. No wonder you're so
Same.
beautiful.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
With that said, one of my earliest memories is
Mhm.
one of me in this little cute black and white top and skirt set with little sneakers with pink shoelaces, and I had a little bangs and whatever, and it's just like a very strong memory, and it very strongly correlates to the fashion element of it. Like, what was most special to me in that memory is what I was wearing, not
Mm.
where I was. I have no idea where I was. Also have no idea what I was doing. But I remember very specifically how I felt with what I was wearing. And I was about 6 years old, in this particular memory.
Yeah.
But fast forward, and I may be answering before time, but
Oh
feel
no, go
free to
ahead.
correct me.
Yeah.
I have always been a very petite person. And
Mhm.
so in Brazil, the fit of clothing is very different from the fit that at the time that I moved to Trinidad existed here in Trinidad. It's, little bathing suits, little bikinis, little things, whether you're a
Everything is
child or an
little.
adult, everything's little and
Mhm.
tight and short.
Mm.
And when I got here, it was a very different fashion world at that time. Now, fashion in Trinidad is incredible, but when I moved here in 1992, it was a completely different thing. This is
Mm.
when people were still going to the beach and like t-shirt and tights and like things like that. And I'm walking in with my little two-piece bikini.
Yeah.
But with that said, I was always very petite. And so I needed to always make a lot of adjustments to my clothing. And that is where I believe there was also like another moment of like me realizing that for me to wear things the way that I want them to fit
Mhm.
and that I love, I would always have to have some input into the pieces. And, a whole story evolved from there. But that was my earliest memory.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And that's so interesting. I love that you describe it in that way. Like you don't even remember where you were, but you remember kind
What
of
I was
how
wearing.
that
Yeah.
made you feel. And it's interesting. You were born in Rio and you
Yeah.
now call Trinidad home. And those are two places that to me are really rich. I've never been to Brazil, but from what I know, really rich in color and rhythm and really
Yeah.
like cultural depth.
Yeah.
So how has
Yeah.
that, do you think, how has that shaped you just as a person and how you view the world?
It's completely shaped me and how I view the world. Like I come from what I believe to be two very similar countries in terms of depth and culture, color, richness, like energy. The vibration of these countries are very similar, but different, but still very similar. The
Yeah.
carnival in both of these countries are extremely, extremely a vital part of the culture. And so I have always been surrounded by beautiful things, like
Mm.
beautiful people, beautiful architecture, beautiful nature, beautiful energy, beautiful colors, beautiful fashion, beautiful food,
Yeah.
beautiful smells, beautiful everything. I have
Yeah.
always, or I can also say that I have chosen to see the beauty in everything around me, right?
Ooh,
Because I'm
I
not
love
going
that.
to,
Yeah.
yeah,
Good
because I,
choice for sure.
exactly, because I could have chosen to see the things that weren't that way, but I chose to always hold on to and observe and marvel at the things that were genuinely like beautiful around me.
Yeah.
Both in Brazil and in Trinidad, which, there's pros and cons to both countries, but if you hold on to that, to the thing that fills you and nurtures you and feeds your creativity and allow there to be a flow,
Hmm.
then that's what you give off, that's what you share, that's what you create with.
Yeah.
And I always say to people that I feel so blessed, right?
Mm.
So blessed to be able to have the experience of these two countries in particular, to be able to speak the language of both of them, to understand it from a very vulnerable place, to understand it from like the depth of the culture, not the surface level.
Right.
To be
Right.
able to have family in both of these countries, to be able to have friends in both of these countries, to be able to create and work in both of these countries, and to be able to share that with the rest of the world, with my customer base and the people that love and follow my brand.
Yeah.
It's I'm so grateful. I am so grateful that it almost feels like just saying the word is not enough, right? But like I feel
Mm,
that from the depth of my soul
yeah,
because it has allowed me to become who I am. And that is also something that I'm really, really grateful for.
I love that.
Oh, I
That's
just had a moment.
beautiful. I love that. I love that. Love that. So beautifully said. And, I love that you said you chose to see the joy. Cause I think a lot
Yeah.
of times when people see persons that are really positive. I'm a really positive person. I'm always laughing and smiling. And I think sometimes people can misconstrue that to think like
Yeah.
nothing's ever wrong or you've never had
Yeah.
to deal with anything. But it's not that. It's just I choose to be kind. I choose, joy. Everything is a
Yeah.
choice. But to your point, it's like, why would you choose to focus on negativity?
Yeah.
Like some people don't have a choice, right? We have to leave
Right.
room for that. Some persons are in
Yeah.
certain situations where that's all they can focus on because that's what's around them.
Yeah.
But if it is that you're blessed to have a choice, why would you choose the negative? So I think that's really amazing that you're able to reflect and look at it like that for sure.
Yeah. I but I will make the disclaimer that life is not all peaches and roses, but it's how you choose to go through those things, right? Like I did a video recently where I decided where that I'm go. Oh, I need to do my daily reminder after this podcast.
Okay.
Where I decided that I'm going to carry along my followers throughout this carnival journey because my profession is very glorified, and glamorized. And so
Yeah.
people always think that it's just good. Everything's always good. There's no hardship in there. There's no difficulty. Everybody's just thriving and there's no challenges. And that's far from the truth. You know what I mean? It's just that most of us show only the good things. And for some of us, there are mostly only good things, right? And so you share that
Yeah.
as well. But there's parts of it that's extremely exhausting and there's days when again I come home and I just sit with my tea in silence. I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm not answering messages because
Ooh.
I need that reset, I need to recalibrate. Life is always lifing and it will put in your path what it needs to regardless. And
Absolutely.
so your decision to deal with those things and how you deal with those things is yours, And if you choose, I'm not perfect. There are times when I'm like, oh, and I become overwhelmed with something that's challenging, but it's always your choice. You know what I mean? Like you have the choice, especially for people that have the ability to choose. Because again, like you said, not everybody has that capacity, right? Not everybody's in an environment where they can take themselves out of a situation that's constantly reminded them of the hardship and things like that. And we hold space for those people, of course.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But when you can, I think have the choice when you can and have the choice to be able to choose to deal with things as best as you can, I think that's always the right thing to do because it
Yeah.
would allow you to have a different outlook
Outlook.
and output.
Definitely, definitely. I agree. And speaking of choices, so from what I read, your path into fashion wasn't really like instantaneous, right? So
No, it
you
was not.
pursued a fashion design degree and then you started exploring different academic avenues. So can you
Okay, so,
reflect
so
on
it's
that
the
moment?
opposite. Okay, so
Yeah, of that
give
decision,
you.
because that's so interesting to me.
So growing up in Trinidad and Tobago,
Hmm.
when I was growing up here,
Hmm.
we were essentially kind of told that like the career paths to success were being a lawyer, an accountant,
Oh, yeah.
a
Same in
doctor, a
Jamaica.
dentist. You know it well, right? And so the career path that allowed me to have the most freedom out of those options would have been entrepreneurship.
Hmm.
So I got a scholarship to go to university in Miami and I chose to do international business as my first degree.
Okay.
And that decision was with the awareness in the back of my mind that I wanted to be able to import and export fashion,
Hmm.
right? At this point, I didn't know that I could also design it yet, right? So I kind of like it's
I
almost like it
see.
kind of worked itself backwards.
Got you.
And so I did my first degree, my bachelor's degree in international business.
Hmm.
And then again, the right thing to do is to then go into your master's, right? Because that's what we were told was the right thing to do back then.
Yeah.
And I had started my master's and I was just like, but I just did all of this. over the last 4 years. Like, it's just a little more. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
what am I really doing? And I had this aha moment. You know, like people discuss their aha moments. I had like an actual light bulb go off aha moment.
Mm.
I had done my first semester of my master's, and I was working super, like I used to work in Miami as a VIP director in some clubs in
Okay.
South Beach. So I used to work overnight. I used to work throughout the night, and then I used to go to class at 8 o'clock. So sometimes I would work until 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, go home, shower,
What?
and go to class for 8 o'clock in the morning. Yeah,
Oh
this is the
my
part of the story that people don't know, right?
See,
Like,
people don't know
I
hard work
hustled.
because that doesn't sound
Exactly.
safe at all. That sounds
It,
very exhausting.
it wasn't, and the driving to class and having to sit through class
Oh,
with that exhaustion. But I was just trying to do what was the right thing to do. I
yeah,
had to work, but I also had to go to school, and so I did what I had to do. And I
exactly.
remember going home to my apartment, and I was like, I literally had this moment where I was like looking outside of the door, and I was like just lightly tapping my head on the door, like, "What are you doing?" Like, it wasn't like anything aggressive or abusive. It was just like one of those
Yeah,
moments, like, "What are you doing?"
yeah.
And I was like, this is not what you want to do with your life. Like, you can't just waste another however many years doing something that you don't love. It's not in alignment with who you are as a person.
Hmm.
And right that second, my TV was on, and an for fashion design school, the Art Institute popped up on television. And it was like a light, it was like literally like a light bulb moment. Like, just like you
Oh
see
my
it like
God.
in cartoons and in TV. And it was
Wow.
at it was like a divine message. At that point, I was very aware that like this is what I needed to do.
Hmm.
And I now had to go through the process of thinking, how was I going to tell my parents that I was going to drop out of my master's to go study fashion design, right?
My gosh.
So, I took my deep breaths, and
Yeah.
but the decision was made. I did what I had to do. And I always say this, like, I have the best parents in the world. Like, I
Aw,
thought
love that.
that would have been something that was problematic, and they were nothing but absolutely supportive. They understood their daughter. They understood that I had that creative element in me, and that I wasn't going to make this decision without properly thinking and knowing that it was the right thing to do.
Right,
And so
right.
they have supported me from that point on up to now. My parents are very much a part of my business in Brazil. They run my Brazilian part of my business.
Oh, I love that.
Even here in Trinidad, my sister lives here as well. She also helps with my business, so my family is very involved. And they have been since the very start of it. So I
Mm,
was scared about something that I never had to be scared of, because it ended up being one of my biggest blessings.
I
And
love
now my whole
that.
family is a part of my business in one way or another.
Yeah, yeah.
So again, I'm so, so, so grateful for that. And so with that, I went and I started my fashion design degree, which was really fun. And I learned so much.
Hmm.
And I graduated. And when I graduated, I was like, okay, what am I going to do now? I have to mix these two degrees
Together.
and creatively create left brain or right brain, right? Like, create and design, but then
Yeah.
also sell, right? Because I
Yes.
can't just create and design, because nobody, I wasn't working for anyone. I was now about to embark on my
Your
own journey.
entrepreneurial journey.
Exactly. And so I continued working for a while and doing the two things, because obviously that's the way that the story goes. And anybody that tells you to like just completely give up everything, to just take a risk and do things without that, unless you have a safety net, because some people
Right.
may. And
Right.
that's
That's true.
great for you, beautiful.
Yes, that's true.
If that's the case that you do, then take the risk. But it builds character in having to do the two things, because
Mm.
I wouldn't have stuck to it if I didn't genuinely love it and didn't genuinely believe in what I was doing. And yeah, so then that was it. That was the start of my journey. I went on vacation to Brazil with my family as a family reunion.
Mm.
And I realized in that trip that a lot of my family in Brazil were in the industry. They were seamstresses, or they worked in the industry in one way or another. And I was like, okay, I can create a business where I hire family and friends in Brazil,
Hmm.
and also the same here in Trinidad.
Hmm.
And it can be something that we can all benefit from, which has always been my dream. My dream has always been to be able to uplift not only myself, but my family and my friends as well. And it was a blessing that I've been able to do that
I
in my
love
own little way, but
that. Yes, I love that. And it's so interesting when you tell the story how, you had a certain level of flirtation to even tell
Yeah,
your parents, and now being able to not only live your dream, but to be able to take them and your other family members along with you
yeah,
while you're on the journey of, like, I would say, your life's work. I think that's a
yeah,
rare and beautiful story, because a lot of people would have said, oh, better I finish school. And, that path is also not wrong, right?
yeah,
Like, we have people that do both. Like, they finish out
yeah,
their masters and then they do something creative. But like you said, sometimes you have to just go for something when you feel it in that moment. And
yeah,
especially when experience divine intervention like you
yeah,
did that day, you can't unsee that. I think once
yeah,
that happened, you had to at least try, right?
yep,
Like, if you try and you fail, that's one thing. But can you imagine continuing going to class and just thinking about that
yeah.
commercial, or just thinking about, you wouldn't have done your best,
Nope.
you
Not
know?
with not the way that my brain works. Absolutely not. I can't be in a space that's not for me. Like I can't function there. I was like, no, I can't. So I'm really glad that I was able to take that risk, you know?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And being a designer with a Caribbean base, right? And I guess Brazilian base too, actually, not I
Yeah.
guess, Brazilian base too, and a global audience. How would you say you navigate that? I don't know if I would say tension, but we'll just say that for lack of a better term, between like cultural specificity and universal appeal. So staying true to, maybe, because as you explained early on, Brazilian culture, I would say, even though Trinidad has caught up maybe a little bit, is still a little different in the dressing, and, a little more risque, maybe one would say, right? So are you able to balance that between, your different customers?
Great question. So my answer to that is this. I I am a designer that doesn't have like a favorite designer. Like there
Oh,
is no mentor that I've ever looked up to in
okay.
terms of like other fashion designers.
Yeah.
There is no specific style of fashion that I am attached to.
Hmm.
I have always been very detached from the fashion world, and so it's very ironic that I ended up being a fashion designer. And the gift in that is that I have over time developed my own style, and my own style is trying to create pieces that take away sizing and creates a one size fits all, or at least a small, medium, large. Like the idea is to take away the concept of sizing for women. I don't want women fixated on size. I want them to be able to feel beautiful in a design and not have to be worried about the small, medium, large on the tag, you know? And I'll give you the story of where that came from afterwards.
Okay.
But in doing that, I was able to source very specific fabrics and to start working on designs that kind of worked within that concept.
Hmm.
And I have then developed many, many designs that I call my classic designs, that are pieces that I restock often in different colors and prints. And then obviously every year, multiple times every year, I put out new designs from new collections as well.
Yeah.
But I take what I need from Brazil and I take what I need from Trinidad
Hmm.
and I put it in my headspace and I mix it up in there and I pour out
I love
something
that.
completely different, you
Yeah.
know? Trinidadian fashion is what it is and has been for a long time and it's evolving beautifully.
Hmm.
The creatives in this country are superb. They're absolutely phenomenal.
I
The
agree.
way that they see things and they create things and they put out things and the way that they love things and present things is absolutely incredible. I don't know that there's any other space in this world
Hmm.
that holds so much talent in one small space. This
Mm.
country, at its heart,
Hmm.
is creative. That's my opinion. Now, obviously, you know, we all have different opinions. It's incredible the talent that comes out of here. And with the carnival industry, especially, it allows that to even thrive, you know? With that said, Brazil has its own spirit. Brazil has its own heart. They have their own fashion. Fashion there is a lot more colorful than you would think. Like
Hmm.
it moves a lot faster because of how much because the population is so big and it has it's a very hot country. Majority of the country is very hot, and so it's a lot less, a lot smaller, a lot tinier. You know, the
Ah.
things happen. But I wouldn't say that like, I wouldn't say that I'm only just inspired by those things. I would say that I integrate those things to create something new, you know?
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
I remember once I did an interview with Deco Drive in Miami.
Uh-huh. Oh,
And
I remember that.
do you?
Yeah.
No way! No way! So this is when I lived in Miami. I lived in Miami for a long time, and I
Hmm.
remember that I had done an interview with Deco Drive, and when I sent in my piece, like when I submitted my pieces, which was solid prints and light pastel colors,
Yeah.
the response was, "Well, this is not very Caribbean, right?" And my response to them was, "Well, what is your version of Caribbean, and
Yes.
who made that up?" Because if I'm a Caribbean designer, because I identify as a Caribbean designer. I
Right.
live in Trinidad. My business is rooted in Trinidad. Then how can you tell me that, it's not Caribbean? It's just not
Right.
what you have been used to for your whole life because you have been only used to one specific set of fashion.
That is it.
I am here to break that mold. I am here to create a new path. I am here to show that there are other ways of doing things and it doesn't always have to look the same. There's so many of
Mm.
us, we can deviate from those norms and create beautiful
Absolutely.
things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, that was a beautiful interview, by the way. I wasn't harmful or anything. That was just a conversation. So
Yeah,
just
no, people have their perceptions of what Caribbean designers should, how they should dress, maybe, how their design
yeah,
should look. And you rightfully said the right thing, which is, how does that look? Just because you're born and raised somewhere doesn't mean that your concept or your frame of mind is going to be the same as someone that lives down the street. You know what
yeah,
I mean? Even though you're from the same country, because like you said,
yeah,
Trinidad has a lot of creatives. So I think that is even a reference point to say there's so many different types of persons in Trinidad that have different types of experiences and see things differently. So how could you expect a whole country to just, design in
yeah.
a certain way,
Yeah. And going back to the final part of your question, I
Mhm.
believe that is what has allowed me to thrive in the international market. I believe that flexibility in design, I believe that concept of the one of a kind fits all,
Yeah.
the fabrics that I choose, me authentically designing and creating from my internal self versus pulling from external sources has allowed me to create a brand that thrives locally and internationally.
I love
And
that.
that, ladies and gentlemen, is the power of just being true to your authentic self and how that manifests and unfolds into success.
Amen.
Yeah.
I love that. I love
Amen.
that. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. And with that, I know we talked a lot about, less clothing and, maybe that swimsuit or Monday wear type
Yeah.
of designs that you do, but your collections range, I would say, from
Yeah.
elegant everyday wear to swimwear and Monday wear,
Yeah.
carnival, So how do you, I know it might be different for each type of piece, but how do you know when a design is finished? Because it's like you said, your brain works in such a way. It's like, how do you know when to
Yeah.
stop working on something?
I have this all right. So again, designing is a spiritual process for me, right?
Okay.
I believe that the clothes you wear is just the second skin that you choose to put on your body. I believe that it's an extension of who you are and
Hmm.
it represents different things and it can make you feel a certain type of way. It can exude a certain type of energy. It can allow others to perceive you with a certain perspective. And I
Absolutely.
believe that clothing is extremely powerful.
Hmm.
So when I design with that level of responsibility in mind. And I design with very specific intention as well.
Hmm.
Whether it is that I design this dress and I want the person that wears the goddess dress to feel like a goddess every time she puts it on. Or when I design the beauty dress, I want the person who wears it to feel beautiful, whatever version. I'm just giving these as very light examples.
Yeah.
There's a process that I go through in designing because sometimes you start a design with a sketch and the design ends up being something completely different. And sometimes you design it with a sketch and it is exactly what the sketch is. And
Ah,
I believe that there's a divine element to designing and fashion. And I believe that sometimes you have to just allow that process to happen And when you know, you just know.
Yeah.
Just know it's not so logical and strategic for me, where it's like I'm not a type A type personality, you know what I mean? Like I am very much like, let's just go with the flow and figure it out and see
Yeah.
how it goes, you know? What I would say though is that, because you referred to the resort wear, the everyday wear, the swimwear, the Monday wear, and I also have male now, and I also have
Oh
fitness
yes,
wear.
I saw you had something with Marcus with Brave Boy, right?
No, it's well, Marcus came into the store, but it was actually a collection with Mohammed Muakil.
Oh.
And I had them come into the store day to, I was shooting an interview, a show with Soca Mocktails. And
Mhm.
so I had them come in to kind of just rile up the scene and just wear the shirts and whatever. Marcus is a good friend of mine. He just released a
Oh,
song. And so he was just invited to be a part of
got
that. But
you.
the
Okay, because
collection
I
is
remember seeing
actually,
him in the video as you're talking. So
yeah, great. He's a great friend of mine. See, I can actually
nice.
say that.
You know
Yeah.
what? When you said that, I said, "Oh, he really is our
Yeah.
friend." Because you already explained
Yeah.
to me the friend thing. So
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, he is, he is. He has a really nice he has a really nice story to tell, and especially with this last song, I
Yeah.
sat with him and Mevin in studio and worked on,
Oh,
well, I was, let me not say I worked with them, but I was there, right? I contributed
okay.
in my own little way.
Yeah.
And the song has become amazing.
Oh, it's a
And
beautiful
I'm so
song.
proud of, yeah, and I'm so
Yeah.
proud of them, both of them, because they did really well.
Yeah.
So yeah, so they come into the boutique sometimes and we do little meetings and we do things again. Friends,
Oh,
right?
friends.
So we
Yeah.
uplift each other and we love each other and we want the best for each other. But yeah, no, the male collection is with Mohammed Muakil from Freetown.
Okay.
And
Oh my gosh. And their song, can't get it out of
yeah,
my head.
girl, they have so many great, great
So
songs, but
many
you
great
know,
songs, but
so
this
many great
particular
songs.
one this season is whew.
They're doing really well as well.
Yeah.
And but anyways, getting back to,
Yeah.
because
The
we'll go
male
off on a
design.
tangent again,
Yes.
right? So I also have nail design, and I have accessories and sunglasses and all of these types of
Oh,
things.
nice. I
And
didn't know about the
yeah,
sunglasses. I love that.
yeah, yeah,
I love
yeah. I
that
have
because to me, that means that someone goes into your store and they can get like their whole attire. They don't have
Yep,
to say, oh, I'm
correct.
going to
I
get this from
even
here.
have, yeah, I even design and create like my own line of all natural perfumes. So like
What?
when I know, right? It's
Oh
crazy,
my
but like when I
gosh, that's
sit to create,
amazing.
I think of like the overall general experience. I have like all natural body butters and body
Hmm.
scrubs. I have the perfumes. I have just essential oil sprays. I have all natural candles. I have, there's so much, right?
Wow.
Because like as you create and as you keep creating and you want to keep
Yeah.
expanding, like the idea was always for my brand to be a lifestyle brand.
So you can
And so
get
my small
everything.
little boutique, yeah, in my small little boutique, you have access to all of those things that I love and want to share, and that I'm able to pour love into, because
Yeah.
that's important to be able to pour love into it. But yeah,
I
yeah, so
love
many things.
that. Well, when I make my first trip to Trinidad, because I can't believe I have still not been there yet. I know,
What?
I know, I know. Everyone can't believe it. I know. Maybe later this year, but
Okay.
if not later this year, definitely next year. It's getting out of hand. Um, okay, so one last question I had before we get
Mhm.
to our rapid fire segment.
Okay.
When you look back at like your, not just your career, but that little girl in that dress down to this moment that you're in right now, what would you tell that little girl?
I would tell her that we did just fine.
Hmm,
We're doing just fine. That there's nothing to worry about. That's what I would tell her.
I love
Yeah.
that. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. So this
Yeah.
segment is really quick and fun. So
Okay.
I'm going to ask you a few rapid fire questions and I would like you to answer with the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
All right. What is your favorite Trinidadian food? I know that might be
This is supposed
hard.
to be a rapid fire, and I'm like,
This is
wait, but
supposed
there's
to be rapid.
so many. There's so many.
I
Okay,
know.
honestly, my favorite is curry
Yeah.
duck. That's my favorite.
Really?
It's not something that I eat often, but it's something that's very nostalgic for me. It's a food that my dad used to cook when we were young, and it just holds all this kind
Oh,
of flavor. So it's not so much about the food itself, but the
okay.
memory and
That's
the
attached to the food.
that's attached to it, because
Got
Trinidad is
you.
a place that it's very hard to choose a food.
Yeah.
The caliber of food here is
So
all
good.
superb.
Yeah.
It's so good, and when you come, you will experience
Oh
that for
my gosh.
yourself.
My girl, I love my belly. So I
Yeah,
will not
exactly.
refuse any type of eating
Exactly.
at all.
It's so good. Like, it's just incredible. And so to even pick, it's like the thing about the best friend. Like, you can't choose a
You
best food.
can't choose.
However, what I would say is that I hold love in different ways for different foods, you know? And that one in
Ah,
particular is the first one that came to mind. And it's
yeah.
because of that experience.
I
Yeah.
love that attached to a memory.
Yeah.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
What would you say is your most memorable memory of Brazil? So either when you were growing up or maybe when you went back?
So so after I graduated university and started my business in Brazil is
Mhm.
when I would have started back going to Brazil often, once or
Okay.
twice a year for like a few months at a time, sometimes longer, sometimes less.
Mhm.
And there is so I was born in Rio, but where my parents currently live right now, where my business is
Mhm.
in a different state, right? But but I try to go back into Rio as much as possible because there's a magic for me there. There's a reconnection of energy or like this soul connection that happens when I go back to this place where I was born. You know, not
Yeah,
just the country where I
nostalgic.
was born, but the place that I was born, you know?
Oh, what
And
like
there's the price that
neighborhood?
yeah, like because I was born in Rio, and so obviously when I go to Rio, I stay like in the neighborhood, like Copacabana, the beach, like
Oh
the
my
beach that every
gosh.
yeah,
Wow.
you know, just seeing Christ the Redeemer in the distance and the sugar loaf and like all those things and sitting on the beach and having that, you know, and you look on the side and you see beautiful buildings and you look on the side and you see the favelas and you understand like the
Mm,
duality of the polarity of life and the world, you know, like you get to just kind of sit in one space and
yeah.
see so many different elements that means so many things. And
Mhm.
every time I have the opportunity to go back and connect in that way, I do it because I think it's important for me as a person to know who I am, where I come from, and recharge that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like nourish that. Trinidad is home, and I want to make that clear because people oftentimes ask, like, where would you consider home? Like, Trinidad is home,
Right.
but my heart is also there, you know. And so I have to go back every once in a while to like fill that up and allow it to smile and bloom, you know.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
I love
that's my
that. I
moment.
love
Yeah,
that. Okay, speaking of home, what, and this also might be difficult for you to answer as a designer, but what fabric feels most like home to you?
silk.
I thought that was the one that was going to make you stop. That was like 2 seconds. Easy.
That took no thought. That took not 1 second of thought.
You can tell you're a true designer because that was, I mean, more than the food, more than the memory, that was quick, quick and fast.
There's there's an opulence to silk, even it in its fragility, because it's a very light
Mm.
fabric, you know. And when you touch it, like it makes you feel things. But it's so opulent despite of how thin it is or how
I
smooth it
love
is or how
that.
slippery it is, you know.
Yeah.
And when you walk, it flows in a way that like only goddesses understand, you know.
Hey, yeah.
And it holds color and you know there's variations of it. There's thicker ones and thinner ones, but
Hmm.
there's a magic to silk, man. There's a magic to, like when you
Yeah. Ooh, I
I
love
love silk.
that. I love that. Beautiful answer. Okay, a few more. What do
Okay.
you think is the most, like the most overrated fashion rule?
Rule. I don't believe in rules.
Hey, next question. I like that. Yeah.
Wait. Okay, wait. Let me just elaborate on that for a second for the people that may not understand.
Right.
You know how like people say like I feel overdressed.
Mhm.
And in my mind I'm like, but what is overdressed? Like who are you dressing for? Are you dressing
Exactly.
for how you feel or how you want to feel? Are you dressing for the occasion? Are you dressing for somebody? Because for example, wear my long dresses that are flowing in the wind and I go to the grocery store, but I could do that because I'm a fashion designer and I get away with doing things like that
Yeah.
because I can, right? Like I go to work and I wear whatever I want, and sometimes I'm all dressed up and sometimes I'm dressed down. But I don't believe in overdressed.
Same.
I don't.
Same. I would
I
agree with
believe that
you.
you dress how you want to feel, and that's what matters. It doesn't matter what other people think. Once you feel
Exactly.
good, that's the
Exactly.
most
And I find
important.
that the persons that speak of you overdressing in a negative way, I always find that interesting because it doesn't bother me if you underdress. Like, I don't look at
Correct.
you any differently or judge you
Yeah.
or say, oh my gosh, why are you dressed like that? So why can't I just dress like how I want to dress? Like, what's the problem?
Exactly. It's bothering no
It's
one.
bothering no one. But
It's bothering no one.
what can you do? People make the comment anyway, right? But I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. No rules. Okay, two more. What would you say is your favorite year or has been, because it doesn't have to be right now. So has been your favorite year of soca music? Like if you could think about a year and you're like,
Ooh,
that
now you're
year.
coming with the hard questions, girl.
I already have my answer, even though the questions aren't for me. But I thought this would be a little easy. But maybe,
What's
see, the
your
questions I
answer?
think are easy are not easy. And the ones I think are
What is your answer? I would love to hear your answer.
2015.
What?
DJ Private Ryan, that mix. I've said it several times. People are probably tired of hearing me say
It
it,
changed
but
the world. It
no, it needs a
literally
Nobel
changed.
Peace Prize. It
Yeah.
needs recognition. Like
Yes.
till this
Wow.
day, like I know every single word of that entire mix.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
a great year.
2015,
That year,
hands
and you see,
down.
like all you have to say about that year was that Private Ryan mix. Literally, that's all you have to say. You
That's
don't have to
it.
call one song.
No,
Okay,
I
so
know the times. Oh, sorry.
so I have to be cautious here because I have a lot of beloved friends, actual friends
Got
that
you.
are a part of the music industry, and
Okay.
whether they're musicians, singers, producers,
Mm-hmm.
promoters, whatever, you know.
Mm-hmm.
What I would say is that there's a shift happening in soca that I think is really beautiful and interesting,
Mm-hmm.
where the focus is going more towards, you know, not so much the wine and jam and not so much necessarily the love story or those elements, but more about the culture and more about the country and more about the feeling
Mm.
of that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that I'm really enjoying that shift that's happening
Okay.
because it feels important, right?
Hmm.
And that's a shift that's recently started happening. So I would plead the fifth and say that there is not one particular year.
Okay.
However,
Okay.
there is a shift in soca that is happening, and obviously every year people have different opinions and things like that, you know.
Yeah.
But this is a good year. This year is a good year.
Okay. Okay. That's a
Every
fair
year is my
answer.
favorite
Yeah.
year. Every year is my favorite
That's a
year.
good, I will agree. This year and last year, I would say, but so
Yeah.
far this year, I mean, we've only been here a few weeks, even though
Yeah.
it might
Yeah.
feel like a year for some people, but
Yeah.
I would say that, yeah, I do recognize that the songs have a lot more like meaning behind them.
Yeah.
I think the instrumentation, I mean, one thing I will say, although I've never been to Trinidad, because of who my father is and my exposure to different genres of music and my exposure to like musicianship, Trinidadian musicianship is like top tier. I don't
Yeah.
know how else to say it, but just the way that Trinidadians interpret music
Yeah.
just through
Yeah.
instrumentation. I'm not even going yet to the whole like lyrical ability. No pun
Yeah.
intended, although I love lyrical. But like just musically, so it was interesting
Yeah.
earlier on when you said, you described in your opinion Trinidad being one of the most creative
Yeah.
places for design or things like that. But I think also for music, just that
Absolutely.
ability to be able to really just have this certain feel for multiple genres of music. I think it's just amazing. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that creative element that I spoke about definitely kind of runs over and pours into the music industry as well. Musicians here are wild, you know, just the nature of the soca industry and how fast they have to keep that turnaround of new music and new
Yeah.
output and all of that stuff. It's very challenging and requires that heavy creative kind of like ignition to like keep creating, you know.
Hmm.
But, you know, I've been again so blessed to have people that are really close to me that I love that are in the industry, and I get a lot of exposure to it, and I get to hear things before time, and I get to have
Yeah.
input, and I get to share and celebrate them, and I get to enjoy the process in a different way from the person that's just listening, and so you develop a different kind of appreciation for that process. You develop a different understanding of the amount of work that goes into it and what it actually requires of these artists, and they kind of almost become superhero in one way or another in your minds, because like these are things that the average human probably could never understand and or pull off, which is the reason behind me trying to kind of show a little bit behind the scenes of what's happening also as a designer in the carnival industry, and well, fashion industry, and in the carnival season, because people think that we are kind of just sitting there and available and don't realize that we are getting pulled from like 25 angles every day, all day, that we have to communicate with so many people all the time. And, we try to put things out in a way that's digestible, but people are still coming in and asking for more and needing more and wanting more. And it kind of, it kind of it kind of equates to like maybe there is not a genuine understanding of how much we as humans have to put out into this season to give you what we are giving you. And so sometimes we just want a little love and respect, a little support, a little appreciation, a little kindness. You know what I mean? Like a little awareness that, we need love as well, or we need, a little time, a little sacred solitude, and drink a little tea,
Yes.
all of these types of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is also a very strong correlation between the two. There is a very strong overlap because we kind of support each other in industries.
Yep.
We're all part of the carnival industry, but
Yep.
there's also an overlap and support of each other. Trinidad is a really beautiful place, and
That's what
Trinidad
I
has
heard.
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful creatives, beautiful people, beautiful minds, beautiful hands, beautiful love. Like there's so much beauty here. And one of the ways, or two of the ways, that you guys outside of here kind of get to experience and see that is one through the music industry and one through the fashion industry. you know
Absolutely. Yeah.
that's two of those ways. And I hope that people are being able to see it, appreciate it, and really kind of love it for what it is. We do it with so much love, we do it with real love,
Yeah.
and so hopefully everyone can receive it as such.
I love
So
that. I love that. Okay, two more questions. What would you say is your favorite part of Carnival, or what do you
Carnival Monday.
Carnival Monday? Okay,
Yeah.
hands down.
Carnival. So I work and I work and I work. So from the Christmas season
Mhm.
straight through the carnival season, I get no rest. There's no downtime for me. I work and I work and I work and I work.
Yeah.
And then the week of carnival, I have a lot of friends that come in from LA or Miami or different places that I tend to have to host. And so I work and I host. And then when it's time to distribute costumes, I work, I host, and I'm there present for the costume distribution. And I'm answering all of the messages from my masqueraders that are in my section because I'm a section leader. And then I'm prepping the girls for going on stage and for having that Tuesday moment.
Yeah.
But the only time that I get to really just be and marvel in the energy of carnival and sing at the top of my lungs, whether I know the words or not, and just, sweat from the heat and like just hug everybody. And just, there's a moment where you just kind of close your eyes and you feel the music and it's like magical.
Mm.
That happens every year on the most magical Monday of the year, which is Carnival Monday. And I absolutely love that moment for me. I love it because it doesn't feel as heavy. It's not costumes that are restrictive and you have to be worried about all that. You choose whatever Monday wear you put on.
Yeah.
You look as beautiful as you want or not as you want. Whatever you want. Whatever you want to do, you do on that Monday. And that for me is magic. And I absolutely love it. Love it, love it, love it. That's my moment. That's my carnival moment, my favorite. I love the stage. I love performing on stage. I love having my feathers. I love all of that. But the most magical moment for me is Carnival Monday.
Yeah. I
Love
love that.
it.
I love that. What a
Yeah.
beautiful description. That's so
Yeah.
lovely. I
You
love that.
have to come. You have to
Yes.
come back. You
I
have to
know,
come.
no,
You
I
have to
can't.
come.
I've never been to Trinidad, period, but
Yeah.
obviously I've never been to Trinidad Carnival. So I feel like I need to experience that for
Yeah, you
sure.
have to come. So if not this year, I guess it might be a little soon this year, next year.
Yeah, next year
You
for
have to
sure.
come.
It has to. So
Yes.
many of my friends have been, like cousins have been. It seemed like everybody but me has been. So, like
It's
my parents,
unexplainable.
yeah, my parents used to
Yes.
go there all the time. Like, so yeah, I need to go experience it for
Yeah.
myself for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, final question.
Yeah.
What is one place in the world that if you were given, I don't know, an exorbitant amount of money, $1 million, that you would want to vacation for like a week? Like
Greece.
anywhere in the world. Greece. Nice.
It's
Particularly
been
the
number.
islands or like Athens or
Yeah,
everywhere.
all of it.
All of it. Well, you have
There's something
$1 million,
about
so
it.
you
Yeah, I know, right? So I'll do all of Europe, but
yeah.
I'll focus on Greece.
Yeah.
So Greece has been on my list for a really long time, and I like travel to all. Like I went to Dubai the other day, like, and I didn't make it to Greece. You know what I mean? Like the world seems to be calling me to different places,
Yeah.
and I haven't yet made it to Greece. But everybody in my life knows that Greece is number one on my list, and I
Okay.
know that it's a matter of divine timing.
Yeah.
Maybe I need those $1 million. I don't
Yeah.
know, to really
You
have the
never
experience that
know.
I want. But there's something about it that, I could sit here and I could say it's the fashion because, we have the Greek goddesses and the draping
Yeah.
and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
I can sit here and I can say that it's the history because, again, the exact same. I have a fascination with their culture. I have a fascination with their history. I have a fascination with their architecture. Like,
Oh my gosh,
I
it's
want to go on the
beautiful.
islands and sit in those little white and blue
Yeah.
restaurants or how, whatever, because it's all there, looking
Yeah.
over the ocean, and want to take my picture in the flowy dress and all of those
Yes.
things. There's something about it that just feels absolutely magical, and it's number one. I mean, I have a list, right?
Yeah.
But Greece is number one.
Number
I
one.
would go there first because it's been
Yeah.
pending for a while, and I
Yeah.
know that it's just a matter of time.
I'm
So,
sure. I'm sure you'll get there
yeah,
soon for sure.
I think so too.
It's what I like to do just to, reflect on the person I'm interviewing and just bring everything together. All right. So, speaking with you, I think something that struck me, I would say, throughout this conversation is that fashion is so like vital to who you are, design, fashion. I know those words for some people are interchangeable, right? And that design or fashion isn't just what we wear. It's how we carry ourselves. Like you said before, it's really the first thing people see, right? Before you
Yes.
open your mouth, they see how you're dressed. And a lot of times that can be how people address you based on how
Yeah.
you're dressed. So it's really a way that we show what we value and how we choose to show up in the world. And I think that through your entrepreneurship and through your love of fashion, that you've built a practice that is beautiful, intentional, and rooted in like real human connection. It's not just about the pretty things, the fancy things, although they are gorgeous. It's deeper than
Yeah.
that. And I feel like your customers, whether it's in the carnival sector or whether they're getting a dress or sunglasses, they really feel that. And I think a lot of times, and I've said it on here before when I've had other designers, we buy designs from persons we don't know, Chanel or Louis Vuitton or Ralph Lauren, and we don't know those persons and what they stand for. So I think it's really great that I can have designers on here and people can really get familiar with who they're buying from and that person stands for, because not only are you paying your hard-earned money, but you're representing that person,
Yeah.
whether their name is on you or not,
Yeah.
you're a representative of them. I think that your brand just gives a feeling of home and possibility at once. And so I feel I feel like, you've really carried the imprint of your lived stories and how you've described that it's so unique, being from Brazil and being from Trinidad, which from what I know are like the top two places known for carnival, but they're so different, but you're able to kind of build that bridge and still let them have their own spotlight, which I don't think is an
Yeah.
easy task necessarily, but you do it so beautifully. So yeah, I just wanted to say
Oh,
thank you for coming to talk the Tings with me. Thank you for the work that you do. And I know in an industry, I've been to other carnivals. I know people aren't the kindest this time of year. So I hope
Yeah.
that you do take time for yourself and you do realize that what you're doing is really helping some people that maybe had a really rough year and they're really looking forward to feeling beautiful, even if it's just for a few hours. You help to give people that feeling of joy. So, yeah, thanks for coming to talk to Tings with me.
That's so beautiful. I would like now thank you for inviting me,
Of
for
course.
taking the time to learn who I am, to ask me questions that have depth and show interest and mean something that can allow me to share who I am with the world or whoever your listeners are in a way that makes me feel safe and makes
Mm.
me feel heard and makes me feel important. That's really beautiful for me. I have done a lot of interviews and they always tend to be very robotic and ask the same questions, and you ask beautiful questions
Oh,
that
thank
allowed me to
you.
share a part of my personality that I don't often, because I'm very private and I share,
Mhm.
but I share very specifically and
Yeah,
very
yeah,
strategically.
yeah.
Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for your heart. Thank you for your spirit. Your energy is beautiful. It's very open. It's very
Thank you.
it's beautiful. It's very pure, and it's rare to come across that as well. And thank you for the work that you're doing, having conversations with people that have beautiful things to share, but not necessarily have the outlet to do it. People that have stories to tell and never got
Mhm.
the opportunity. People that, have something that somebody else can learn from and appreciate, and that can help somebody heal or can
Yeah.
help somebody take a step or can help somebody change a direction. Like the work that you're doing is extremely important. I know
Thank
that
you.
oftentimes people just say like it's a podcast, but there's real beauty and magic and sacredness to podcasts,
I
because
love
it
that word.
allows people to connect with other people that they may not have had the opportunity to do that. And so what you were doing and selecting the people that you interview, asking the questions that you do, is really divine and sacred work. And I hope that you are within the capacity to receive that, that you have that awareness, and that you understand how important divine and beautiful what you're doing is. I really enjoyed this podcast.
Oh,
Really, really,
thank you
really
so
did. I
much.
had a
Lord
good
Jesus, don't make me cry on the
time.
people them camera.
No, not at all, girl. We started, we fixed the light, we kind of got the setup going.
Yes, we
If
got it together.
ever we got it together, if ever we do it again, I promise to take a little more time to figure out the background and whatever. But I
Definitely.
do want
Not
to
if,
thank
when.
you.
Definitely, for
When we
sure.
do it again.
Yes.
And maybe we can do it together in Trinidad and Tobago for
There
Carnival
you
next
go.
year.
There you go. I could have
Hey, there you go.
Monday wear on.
Exactly. I'm planting a little seed there for you. We could do it before, we could do it after, we could do it during,
I
however
love
you
that.
want. But
I
keep
love
it in
that.
mind. It might be a lot of fun.
Yes,
So
I think it will be
thank
for
you.
sure. Of course. You're
Thank you,
so,
thank you,
so
thank you, thank
welcome. It
you.
was a
You are
pleasure having you.
wonderful. Oh, the pleasure was all mine.